Imagine a place where reality is just a suggestion, where the walls between here and somewhere else are so thin, you can push right through them. For decades, deep beneath Camp Hero State Park in Montauk, Long Island, the official story was simple, just a deactivated radar installation. But the stories, the testimonies, the sheer volume of whispered dark Cold War secrets tell a different, terrifying tale. They say that facility wasn't abandoned. It was the site of the most aggressive and dangerous experimentation the U.S. government ever bankrolled. We're talking about the infamous Montauk Project revealed. This wasn't just some dusty footnote in history. This was a massive, black-budget psychic manipulation conspiracy designed to weaponize the human mind. Think MKUltra, but scaled up by a factor of 10, powered by the largest radar dish on the East Coast, and focused on breaking the fundamental laws of physics. The goal wasn't just espionage. According to those who claim to have been there, the ultimate horrifying ambition, the one that drives all the most intense interdimensional travel theories, was mastering mind control to the point where they could physically manifest thoughts. They allegedly used powerful energy sources and advanced resonant technology to amplify the mental powers of subjects, often children, to such an extreme degree that they could open a stable wormhole. They weren't just trying to communicate with other places, they were trying to build a door, and the evidence suggests they might have succeeded. But what happens when the military accidentally rips a hole in the fabric of space-time? The Montauk Project alleged goals weren't just about controlling minds, they were about controlling reality itself, and the dark consequences of that ambition might be far more pervasive than you think. If the idea of secret government experiments opening portals gives you chills, hit that like button right now. And tell me in the comments, have you heard the Montauk Project alleged goals before? Or is this completely new territory for you? Because we are about to dive into the alleged experiments, the survivors, and the terrifying link between this remote base and the concept of a shared secondary dimension. The Demogorgon wasn't the monster. The real monster was the research. We are not in Hawkins, Indiana. We are 1,000 miles east, standing on the desolate bluffs of Montauk, New York. Specifically, at an abandoned military base known as Camp Hero. If you look closely at the rusted radar dish towering over the trees, you might just feel that chill, the one that tells you something profoundly unnatural happened here. This is the alleged epicenter of the Montauk Project, a conspiracy theory so vast, so deeply woven into the fabric of Cold War paranoia, that it makes MKUltra look like a grade school science fair. The premise is simple, shocking, and utterly terrifying. What if the US government, in its desperate race for psychic supremacy, didn't just try to control minds, but tried to tear a hole into another dimension? To understand Montauk, you first have to understand the mind-bending ambition of the Cold War era. After World War II, the arms race wasn't just about bigger bombs, it was about weaponizing the human mind. Programs like MKUltra focused on destructive psychological conditioning, using drugs, torture, and sensory deprivation to break and control. But Montauk allegedly took the baton in the late 70s and early 80s, asking a much wilder question: can we amplify latent human psychic power, the kind of power 11 wields, to influence reality itself? Think of our universe like a massive library, filled with countless books. We are currently sitting in the non-fiction section, reading our boring, predictable reality. The Montauk researchers weren't trying to read the book next to ours. They were trying to psychically punch a hole through the wall and pull out a title from the forbidden section. The alleged key to this dimensional vandalism was something called the Montauk Chair. This wasn't just a simple sensory deprivation tank. Imagine a chair wired directly into a massive energy source, surrounded by complex electromagnetic coils and advanced radar technology. Its sole purpose was to act as a psychic amplifier. Children, often allegedly abducted or recruited via existing government programs, were placed in this chair. The goal was to harness their raw, untrained mental energy and focus it, much like a laser beam, on specific targets. Initially, they aimed for remote viewing, spying on Soviet bases from across the globe. But then the ambition escalated. They started asking the psychics to mentally create things. They asked them to picture a physical object, a creature or a location, and project that image with enough force that it would materialize physically. Now, if you've seen Stranger Things, you know exactly where this is going. The theory posits that in 1983, a powerful psychic subject, maybe the real-life analog to 11, was asked to visualize a monster, a terrifying, hungry, faceless creature. And the experiment worked. The energy feedback was catastrophic. The psychic projection, amplified by the Montauk Chair, didn't just create a temporary illusion. It allegedly tore open a rift in the fabric of spacetime, manifesting the creature, or the idea of the creature, into our reality. This event, proponents claim, is the true origin of the Upside Down, a dark, cold mirror of our world, populated by the things we fear most, brought into being by weaponized psychic trauma. But here's the detail that the conspiracy books often leave out, and it brings us back to that massive radar dish at Camp Hero. The Montauk Project didn't just rely on psychic kids, it needed raw power to stabilize the dimensional breach. This is where the legend links back to one of the most famous naval conspiracy theories of all time, the Philadelphia experiment. The Philadelphia experiment, allegedly conducted in 1943, aimed to make a naval destroyer invisible using electromagnetic fields. The legend claims it succeeded too well, briefly transporting the ship through space and time. Montauk researchers, according to the theories, found a way to link their experiments in 1983 back to the energy spike generated by the 1943 failure. They weren't just opening a portal, they were trying to create a stable time-space warp that allowed for interdimensional travel. If you are surprised by the sheer scale of these alleged experiments, the idea that the government tried to use children to tear holes in reality, then you need to stick around, because the next layers of this story are even wilder. We are talking about alleged time travel to 2137, encounters with alien species, and the deliberate erasure of all documentation. If you've heard about the Montauk Project before, maybe you thought it was just a spooky urban legend. But when you start tracing the real historical obsession with mind control and the billions poured into secret Cold War programs, you realize that the line between science fiction and deep dark research is terrifyingly thin. If you're as hooked on these hidden histories as I am, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, do you think the Upside Down is pure fiction, or is it a warning based on real, forgotten experiments? What if I told you that in a forgotten military base on the eastern tip of Long Island, the US government wasn't just trying to win the Cold War, they were trying to rip a hole in reality itself? Forget the fictional horror of the Upside Down for a second. We are diving into the Montauk Project, the alleged secret experiment where teenagers were supposedly used as batteries to power interdimensional portals. This isn't just about shadowy government labs. This is about the terrifying intersection of psychic research and theoretical physics. To understand Montauk, you first have to look at its dark predecessor, Project MKUltra. We know, based on declassified documents, that the CIA spent decades trying to perfect mind control, remote viewing, and psychic warfare. But according to the theories, MKUltra was just the warm-up act. By the 1970s, the goal allegedly shifted from controlling minds to controlling space and time. The alleged location: Camp Hero, a decommissioned Air Force station in Montauk, New York. If you visit today, you'll see the massive, iconic Sage radar tower, a colossal antenna that looks like it was ripped straight out of a 1950s sci-fi film, and that tower is key. The theory suggests that this massive radar dish wasn't just for tracking Soviet bombers. It was secretly repurposed to generate an unprecedented level of electromagnetic energy designed to amplify the human mind. Now hold on to your hats, because here's the logic behind the dimensional breach. The researchers, allegedly led by figures connected to the original highly disputed Philadelphia experiment of the 1940s, believed that consciousness itself was a form of energy, a frequency. If you could focus a powerful psychic mind and blast it with enough electromagnetic energy, you could theoretically tune that mind to frequencies outside our known dimension. Imagine your brain isn't just a squishy organ, but a radio receiver. You usually only tune into the local station, our reality. But if you crank the power up, way up, you might start picking up alien signals, or even signals from the past or the future. The most shocking claim in the Montauk legend is the use of young men, often retrieved from troubled backgrounds or even allegedly kidnapped, who were dubbed Montauk Boys. These individuals were supposedly placed in specialized chairs, often referred to as the Montauk Chair, connected directly to the massive radar system. Their minds, often enhanced by extreme interrogation and drug use, were used as the focusing mechanism. The goal? To create a stable, sustained psychic connection to another point in spacetime. And here's the terrifying detail that links directly to the idea of the Upside Down. The theory suggests that during one of these massive energy discharges, the psychic connection became too powerful, collapsing the spatial barrier and allowing something physical to bleed through. Some accounts claim they successfully opened a stable, controllable portal, a hole in the cosmos, that led to a different time period or possibly a parallel universe. Others, far more sinister, claim the experiment went catastrophically wrong, resulting in the manifestation of a psychic entity that destroyed the underground facility and led to the project's abrupt closure. But what nobody tells you about the Montauk Project is the alleged connection to a forgotten genius, Nikola Tesla. Yes, the electrical pioneer who died decades before Montauk was supposedly operational. The theories claim that the technology used to manipulate time and space was based on recovered or hidden research related to Tesla's work on resonance and massive energy transmission, technology allegedly perfected during the Philadelphia experiment. This means the Montauk researchers weren't just building new tech, they were resurrecting classified historical secrets. If you are finding this deep dive into Cold War psychological warfare and alleged interdimensional breaches fascinating, do me a favor. Hit that like button and let me know in the comments if you think the government ever truly stopped trying to weaponize the human mind. Because the Montauk story doesn't end with a bang. It ends with a whisper and a huge cover-up. The legend claims that after the final devastating incident, the entire underground facility was flooded with concrete, the personnel were debriefed, and their memories were systematically wiped, all to bury the proof that they had succeeded in touching something that humanity was never meant to find. The big question remains, was the government chasing advanced technology, or were they desperately trying to put the lid back on a box they should never have opened? And what exactly crawled out before they sealed it shut? Forget secret bunkers and shadowy government meetings. What if the US government, in the dead heart of the Cold War, wasn't just trying to build better bombs, but was trying to weaponize thought itself? That is the terrifying rabbit hole known as the Montauk Project. This isn't just about a creepy abandoned base on Long Island. This is the alleged successor to the notorious MKUltra program, where the goal wasn't just mind control, it was psychic warfare, interdimensional travel, and time manipulation. And the terrifying part? The story centers around a massive decommissioned Air Force radar installation known as Camp Hero, right at the tip of Montauk. During the 1970s and 80s, while the base was officially winding down operations, the conspiracy claims that deep beneath the sand dunes, a secret team was taking the concept of psychic energy and turning it into a literal broadcast signal. Think of your brain like a small, highly complex radio antenna. It generates extremely weak electromagnetic waves. Montauk theorists claim they found a way to take that weak signal, amplify it using massive radio frequency emitters, specifically the powerful SAGE radar system, and use that focused power to physically manifest thoughts. Imagine the sheer power required for that. We are talking about engineering the very fabric of reality. The key component, allegedly, was a chair called the Montauk Chair. This device was supposedly hooked up to advanced computers and the massive radar dish above. It was designed to enhance the natural psychic abilities of specific individuals, often referred to in the theories as the Montauk Boys, to such a degree that their subconscious thoughts became physically real. If you're finding this hard to wrap your head around, think of it this way. In quantum physics, we talk about the observer effect, the idea that the act of observation can change the state of a particle. Montauk, according to the claims, was trying to scale that up. They wanted to make human consciousness the ultimate observer, forcing reality to bend to their will. But the real escalation came when they started trying to tear open the universe. The ultimate goal was stable interdimensional travel. The theories suggest that by focusing an immense amount of psychic energy, they could create a controlled, temporary wormhole, a shortcut between dimensions or even between points in time. In 1983, it is alleged they successfully opened a stable vortex. But what happens when you tear a hole in reality? You don't know what's going to step through. The stories from alleged witnesses describe terrifying non-human entities manifesting from the void, creatures of pure thought or energy that were accidentally brought into our dimension. This is the moment the narrative shifts from Cold War science fiction to pure horror. If you've ever wondered where the source material for certain modern horror franchises comes from, many roads lead back to the Montauk mythology. Now, if you are completely blown away by the sheer audacity of these claims, do me a favor. Smash that like button and let me know in the comments if you think this is a real cover-up or the greatest ghost story ever told by a disgruntled ex-employee. But here is the plot twist that complicates everything. Many of the most detailed accounts of the Montauk Project come from individuals who claim to have recovered these memories through controversial methods, including hypnosis and recovered memory therapy. The psychological community is deeply divided on the reliability of such memories, especially when dealing with trauma and suggestibility. Could the Montauk Project be a real government experiment gone wrong? Or is it a shared trauma narrative, a collective fever dream fueled by Cold War paranoia, MKUltra documents, and the eerie, desolate atmosphere of Camp Hero itself? The official story is that the base simply shut down in the mid-80s, the radar equipment sold off, and the underground facilities sealed. But Montauk locals, even today, report strange seismic rumblings, sudden bursts of static electricity, and vehicles with government plates patrolling the area late at night. The government says the facility is closed. The legend says the door is merely locked, and whatever they let out is still looking for a way back in. We may never know the truth hiding beneath those dunes, but one thing is certain: the power of the human mind, whether used for creation or destruction, remains the ultimate, terrifying frontier.